Hi, what's up? It's me. I'm Ethan, and I'm glad you're here. This is like a giant microphone that's in my way. I'm gonna move it over here, and hopefully you can still hear me. I'm not trying to like flex that I have a cool microphone, but I've been accused of that. I've been accused of worse. But anyway, hi, who's here? Say hello in the chat box. This is like the worst way to open a chat is like, hi, who's here? But I'm actually curious to know if like who are you? And Carrie's here, Lisa's here. Great, awesome, welcome. This is just going to invite a bunch of hellos, which I don't know if that's a super exciting way to start a chat. Devin's here. Let's do something more interesting. Let's do a check-in question, shall we? I want to do a check-in question that has nothing to do with college essays. And it's one that I've asked in the past, but I'll tell you why I'm asking it now. I was just going through my backpack, like that's literally right over there, and I went on a road trip and I didn't eat all of my road trip snacks. So I have with me some road trip snacks. So I want to share with you some of my favorite road trip snacks. And I want to know, check-in question, what is your favorite, or what are some of your favorite road trip snacks? So here are some of mine. I'm going to start with the healthy, and then it's just going to go downhill from there. So we start with the Trader Joe's Trek mix, not even Trek mix, almonds, cranberries, and cashews. If I get the chocolate one, I just eat all the chocolate out of it. So favorite road trip snack number one is like some good solid trail mix. And then, you ready? Combos. Do y'all know about these? Pizza, particularly pizza combos. These are unopened from 1997. No, these are also a favorite guilty pleasure road trip snack. I'd love to hear some guilty. Yeah, we got some good ones coming in. Funyuns, okay, Oreos. Yeah, just. I'm not going to say these are gross things, but these are like in the realm of the road trip snack. I mean, come on, we're on a road trip, right? And then Rice Krispie treats. Again, unopened, but something that I love. And I was actually really excited to find this in my bag just now. So what do we got? Honey goat cheese with toasted bread and fig jelly. Oh my gosh. Anna, did you just like swing by Gelson's on the way out of town on your road trip? That's like a really cool, nice grocery store here in LA. For those of you who aren't in LA. Boom Chicka popcorn. I know about that. The sweet and salty is nice. I do Diet Coke too, Caroline. Goldfish. I've known to crush a bag of goldfish alongside my daughter. Hi, friends. Welcome to the webinar. I'm Ethan. This is Ethan, Casual Tuesday Ethan, in my new Big Sur tee. I'm just going to go like this. Repping the West Coast. Maybe the best coast. I don't know. This time of year, it's pretty great. I'll just say that. I'm glad to have you here, and welcome. Welcome. Our check-in question, if you missed it, is what is your favorite road trip snack? That's why you've got all these folks randomly sort of throwing in all these random snacks to the chat box, I should say. I'm the college essay guy. If you've never met me before, I spent a lot of time thinking about this whole college application process thing. And I want to share with you some resources that I think will help you, get into college. You're going to get into a college if you expand your list. And if you don't have schools right now that are on your list that you feel like pretty sure you can get into, I'd recommend adding those now, because now is a great time to do it. So what are we going to cover? I'm not even going to, I was going to share my screen. Yeah, I guess I could do that. Here, I'm going to share with you the Google Doc that we will share after the session so that you'll have that. But here it is. It's real simple. I'm going to share with you 3 exercises to help you find a personal statement topic. Okay, so get ready to type or write. If you're with your mom, be like, Mom, give me a minute. And then find something to write with, because I want to let's get creative in a minute here. I'm going to share with you 2 different ways to structure your essay. One is if you're not writing about challenges, which is many of you. One is if you are writing about challenges. I'm going to share with you 2 different example essays, 2 of my favorites that if you've been on my webinars before, I haven't actually reviewed these live before, so that'll be fun. I'm going to share with you the 4 qualities of a great personal statement. #IamHO, in my humble opinion. I'll do a quick PSA for a course that I've got coming up in 10 days that I'm really excited about. And then we're going to do the Q&A. And then on this doc, Stevie, who's moderating, thank you, Stevie, is going to be putting your questions right here. And I'm going to get to as many as I can when we get to that portion of the broadcast, that portion of the evening. But before we start, I want to just let me see. Whoops, I pushed the wrong button and disappeared on you. I don't want to do that. Before I start, I want to just like take a minute to just land with y'all. And I say that because it's late August, probably your senior year. You've probably been, I don't know, doing whatever you've been doing this summer. You're probably getting ready to start a pretty intense time, which is the fall of your senior year. And I just want to take a moment to pause and go slow because I'm about to go fast and say, actually, you know what? Rather than say something, can we just actually like take like 10 seconds and not say anything and just be here together? So let's do that. And there's nothing you have to do right now. All right. Some folks call it mindfulness. Some folks call it a 10-second pause. But either way, I just want to remind y'all that whatever is going on in these coming months, to just take some time to just be and be a human again. All right. Now, back to our regularly scheduled programming of college essay goodness and madness. So I want to offer you 3 different exercises that could potentially lead to your personal statement. And I want to show you how these led students to their personal statements. All right. Exercise number 1. I want to ask you a simple question. And if you want to share it in the chat box, totally fine, totally awesome. The first question I'm going to ask you is, what is your superpower? What is something that you're really good at? Could be, what are some of my superpowers? One of my superpowers is efficiency, finding a faster way to do something. That's why I need to pause sometimes. One of my superpowers is being able to read people's body language and know how they're feeling based on that. So what are your superpowers? Come up with as many as you can. See if you can come up with 3 to 5 of these. We'll take like a minute or so to do this. And get as specific as you can. Feel free to throw these in the chat box. So if like you've got analyzing, for example, like analyzing what? Get as specific as you can. Bringing people together is lovely. What are some different ways that you bring people together? Caring for people. I love that. Understanding other people's emotions. What are some different ways that manifests itself? I'd be curious to know. Acting. The different roles you play. I'm into it. Learning. Cool. But get as specific as you can. Is procrastination a superpower? I don't know. Maybe. You tell me. Taking photographs. Cool. Great intuition. Cool. How does that manifest itself? I love it. Okay. I want to just name that a lot of the ones that I just said, I think could be pretty good personal statement topics. Making people feel included, for example. I'd love to read, Mariela, about what are the different ways that you make people feel included? That would be an awesome personal statement theme or topic. So the first thing that I want to offer y'all as a possible thread or theme for your personal statement is that it could just be that you focus on one of your superpowers and you talk about how that superpower manifests itself in your life in different ways. And I'll show you an example essay in just a little bit. Okay. Second question I want to ask y'all is this. What are some different ways that you identify? So what are some of your many identities? And you can think about like different roles that you play. So for example, an identity that I have is as a teacher. Like I'm playing that role right now as college essay guy. But I have an identity as a dad because I have a 6-year-old daughter who's pretty awesome. I also am a lover of board games. I'm pretty much nerd out on games. I've got like on my desk the art of game design, not because I'm designing games yet, maybe second career. So board game lover, dad, college essay guy. I want you to make a list of as many different identities as you can think of. See if you can make a list of identities. See if you can come up with like 5 to 10. And when you've got like a list of like 5 of them, put them in the chat box. Ooh, the rational one. That's a good one. If you're looking for ideas, you can check out the chat box. Great, Tanya. Keep going. Reader, tennis player, leader. What else? Bucket getter. That's a great one, Kevin. What are some others? These are great. I want to just point out, Luke, how you could totally write your personal statement on how you have a dual national identity, a game lover identity, friend and brother identity, and then a dungeon master identity, and how each of these shows different sides of you. I think that could be a really cool personal statement. Or you could focus on just one if you wanted to. Catalina, Latina, older sister, daughter, team captain, granddaughter, first generation American. Love it. Each one of those could become a beautiful paragraph in your personal statement. Teacher, lover of new music, hiker, foodie, caregiver, neat freak. Oh, these are awesome. The more specific and like weird you get with some of these, the more that they'll pop in your essay. So like bucket getter, like probably that there's a little story there and probably like a value or something that reveals about you. Cool. TikToker. Mom, dedicated friend, yogi, daughter, great sister. Love it. Love it. Okay. So here's the third exercise. And this one is less about like how do you come up with topics and more about how do you reveal different sides of yourself. So here's what I want you to do. I'm going to share my screen again. Share my screen. This is my values list, and we'll send this out later, but this is like a list of values. And I want you to look at this list, okay? And you'll see a whole bunch of values. Okay, so everything from personal development to wealth, loyalty, recognition, creativity, courage, etc. So what I want you to do is I want you to pick. You can do one of two things, actually. You can either pick one superpower or one identity and connect it to as many values as you can. So for example, let's say I pick my identity as like game lover or board game lover. And I pick as many values as connects to board games as I can. Like board games connects to knowledge and creativity, connection. Okay, so I can pick one thing from my list and connect it to as many values as I want. Or if you're not finding one that you're like super inspired by, take, for example, your list of identities. And for each identity, list a value that you connect with based on that identity. So for example, Hiroshita said the first identity is an intern. So the question would be like, okay, well, which value are you able to connect with and express through being an intern? The brutal one. What does that mean? And what value does that connect to in your life? The does it all. What value does that connect to? So again, use this values list and either connect one thing that you wrote down, either one superpower or one identity, to lots of values, or just pick a bunch of your identities and connect each one to a different value. Okay. So I won't be reviewing any personal statements live on this session, Malak, just so you know. But thanks for asking. And if you want to just look at this link on your own, I'll just give you the link in the chat here. Cool. All right, here's a great one. Okay, so Leticia picks nerd, and the values are productivity, growth, practicality, flexibility, and objectivity. Great. So you could totally write the I'm a nerd essay, Leticia. And you could talk about all these different ways that nerd identity manifests itself. Now, you could also, if you wanted to juxtapose it with, but I'm also, and you could bring in another identity that kind of shows the opposite of that. And then you've got like these two contrasting identities, and that could set up like a cool, productive tension in your essay. Megamind identity. Inspiration, productivity, knowledge, and curiosity. Your whole essay could be an identity of a megamind essay. I love that. Great. So again, you can either do pick one identity and connect to a lot of different values, like this example of megamind, which connects to like inspiration, productivity, knowledge, or curiosity. Or you can just connect a bunch of different identities, each one to a different value. Sorry, I think I misspoke. Or connect one identity per value. So one identity, one value, one identity, one value. Cool. So Amaru's picking analyzing literature, which connects to personal development, curiosity, communication, truth, self-expression, self-love, and freedom. Beautiful. Awesome. L's got activist, strength, purpose, freedom, and leadership. Your whole essay could be about your birth as an activist, like how this came to be and what this different sides of you that it connects to. Lane, feminist, respect, strength, freedom, and inclusion. You could talk about how those values have manifested in your life and how they have made you the feminist that you are. Love it. These are great, y'all. Okay. So how the heck does this turn into a college essay? Let me give you a couple different options. So one option is to choose one of these paths. So let's say we pick the identity path, for example. And you basically, so one thing you could do is you could basically make your essay, you could base it on a range of different identities. For example, I am Mexican, describing that identity. I am Chinese, that identity. I am American, that identity. And your whole essay could be a montage or collage of these different identities. Or if you wanted to, you could pick something like pirate. What? Pirate? Yeah. So here's a pirate identity essay. And here's how it goes. There's nothing worse than waking up and realizing you were meant to be a pirate. What? That's called a hook, y'all. I was around the age of 9 when it dawned on me. For years, my grandpa educated me on the ways of the pirate. We would pretend to sail the 7 seas looking for the lost city of El Dorado and go on adventures through the Amazonian rainforest. Okay, I'm intrigued. Now, quick side note to y'all as I'm reading this essay. I want you to see if you can spot the values, because that's the first of the 4 qualities that I'll talk about today of what I look for when I'm looking for what is a great personal statement. Do I get core values? So let's see. He romanticized the stories of pirates, my grandfather, hiding me from the atrocities they committed. Yet in a way, it allowed me to see the true nature of adventure and exploration that the sailors of the 7 seas stood for. Some nice alliteration there. The word pirate meant to sail and explore the world. And that's when I realized I was born in the wrong era. I was meant to live a life of adventure. He's hitting that value pretty hard, right? I was meant to be a pirate. Had the powerful overlords of the world been more inquisitive and precise with their calculations when they created me, sense of humor, I would have actually been one. Alas, there's not much else that can be done. Unless the invention of time travel is just around the corner, the prophecy I was once meant to fulfill would vanish into oblivion. Throughout the years since the epiphany first came to me, I've worked to balance my responsible and organized self with my rebellious and adventurous pirate spirit. So you see some more values coming in. When I'm not filming a movie, organizing events, or counseling my friends, tiny identities working in there, I often let my imagination run free, even if for a few minutes, allowing my inner pirate to come out and play. I never owned a sextant, nor plan on doing so, yet I commonly gaze at the stars and the constellations they form, attempting to track their patterns in the night sky during nightly walks with my dog. And when my family goes to the beach, I take my brothers on a crab searching adventure, our version of scouting for a crew, scouring the crowded San Francisco beaches and tide pools for little crustaceans to gaze at in wonder. You see the new value there? Even a hike through the Santa Cruz Mountains will often be accompanied by a little treasure map that my father and I will use to locate geocaches along the trail. So many values in there, but it's that theme of adventure, of spirit, the spirit of discovery, right? Now, at the age of 17, I regard myself as the modern Captain Kidd. Although I don't embody the pillage and burn side of the pirate life, the way I've embraced an adventurous lifestyle has compelled me to explore any activity, concept, or subject that attracts my attention. Historical accounts of pirates tell of hunts for treasure and booty, an insatiable thirst for gold. But while pirates scoured the world for money, I long for knowledge. New value. Where Sir Francis Drake sought to conquer Spanish treasure ships, I conquered the realm of musicianship, teaching myself guitar and piano. See how he's smuggling in that side of himself? Underneath the value, the theme of knowledge. Captain Henry Avery searched for the perfect congregation of pirates to create a republic of misfits. I did the same as I helmed the mental health club to help those at my high school in need. The image of Captain Kidd researching the metaphysical explanation of the 10 dimensions may be strange, but to me, it's a perfect representation of the pirate spirit. I know that when people think of the word pirate, they don't think of a teenager who likes to air guitar in his room and dream of making movies in Iceland. It's also a chance to confront my rivals, the Vikings. But my unmistakable sense of adventure and curiosity defines me. I've become an avid astronomer, an aspiring filmmaker, philosophical nerd, a music geek, and an unqualified therapist. Every quest takes me to uncharted territory, breaching the limits of my knowledge and expanding my potential. I am an unappeasable pirate on a quest for knowledge, never satisfied with the treasure under the beach. All right, did y'all see some values in there? Because I spotted a whole bunch. Someone says, Sky says, this actually sounds like you. Yeah. So there are tons, right? Now, here are the qualities for me, and this is, I'm segueing into the 4 qualities that this essay demonstrates that I think that it's good to include in a college essay. So the first one is values, right? And you can see so many: adventure, right? Exploration, that's that whole second paragraph here, right? The next one is storytelling, creativity, responsibility, because he's organized, right? He organizes things, organization. We also see connections to family, going to look for crustaceans on the beach, nature, because he's out on the beach in the world, knowledge. A lot of this paragraph was all about knowledge, right? He also works in the part of himself that loves music. He also works in the side of himself, the mental health club, so helping others. Curiosity is all through it, and lots more. So there's so many different sides of this student, but it's all through the theme of this one identity. So what I'm suggesting to y'all is, could you potentially pick one identity that connects to lots of different values? And could you find a way to potentially theme your paragraphs based on your values? So the major theme of this paragraph, for example, is like adventure, but there's other stuff in here. And the main theme of this paragraph is like knowledge, but there's other stuff in here. And then ask yourself, well, what other sides of myself could I potentially work in under these larger themes of like knowledge and adventure? How do these other sides of me express themselves, right? Some other qualities that I love about this essay. Insight. So insight to me is the answer to the question, so what? In a way that surprises us. My favorite insight in this one is when he's like, I become an avid astronomer, aspiring filmmaker, philosophical nerd, music geek, and unqualified therapist. Why? 2 reasons. Number one, I mentioned those identities, right? Look at all these different identities that he basically works in here. All these different sides of himself, all of which are supported in this. So it's kind of like a double identities essay. So yes, he's focused on one major identity, and that's kind of like the fun theme or topic of the essay. But he actually shows all these sides of himself. The second reason I love it is that it provides an insight, like that's why you were setting up all these things. You're really going to share with us all these different identities. The third quality, I think, of a great personal statement is that it's vulnerable. And by vulnerable, I don't mean like he's sharing his biggest, deepest, darkest secrets, but there are lots of different personal moments, details about his family, his love for all kinds of things, from like crustaceans to like, his involvement in the mental health club. Yeah. Craft is the last one. The level of detail is super on point here, right? Like, notice that part where he's like, my grandfather romanticized the stories of pirates, hiding me from the atrocities they committed. Yet, in a way, it allowed me to see the true nature of adventure and exploration that the sailors of the seven seas stood for. Just, first of all, he's tying it back to the pirate really nicely, but he's also got some nice language in there. I don't think you need to like do sentences like that, but that's just a nice example that he's clearly revised this over several drafts. So that's one example. I want to share with you another example. Let's see, we did identities. Let's go to a skill or superpower. Here's another one. And I'll get to questions at the end. How would one know which essay path to choose? Great question. You have so many options. The key is to brainstorm a bunch of different options, Michaela, and then pick whichever one inspires you. Okay. This is the building and problem solving essay. So this is a student who wrote about this one skill or superpower of building and problem solving and how it manifested in their lives. Let's take a look. And then I want to share with you the 4 qualities of this essay. Since childhood, I've been an obsessive builder and problem solver. When I was 6, I spent 2 months digging a hole in my backyard, ruining the grass lawn, determined to make a giant koi pond after watching a show on HGTV. After watching Castaway when I was 7, I started a fire in my backyard, to my mother's horror, using bark and kindling, just like Tom Hanks did. I neglected chores and spent nights locked in my room drawing pictures and diagrams or learning Rubik's Cube algorithms while my mother yelled at me through the door to go to sleep. I've always been compulsive about the things I set my mind to. The satisfaction of solving problems and executing my visions is all-consuming. So notice that the author kind of like underscores the theme here. Now, by the way, the student didn't put this as a title. You don't need a title for your personal statement. But notice how it's just sort of like clarifying, hey, solving problems and executing is all-consuming. Hey, this is my superpower. But my obsessive personality has helped me solve other problems too. Now, this is what I call a launch line. And what it does is it raises a question in our minds. So the previous essay was raising a question like, okay, well, how is this student like a pirate in all these different ways? And this one is asking, well, how has this obsessive personality helped this student solve other problems? What are these other problems? When I was 8, I taught myself how to pick locks. I always dreamed of how cool it must have been inside my brother's locked bedroom. Again, look for values. So I didn't eat at school for 2 weeks and saved up enough lunch money to buy a lock picking set from Home Depot. After I wiggled the tension wrench into the keyhole and twisted it counterclockwise, I began manipulating the tumblers in the keyhole with the pick until I heard the satisfying click of the lock and entered the room. Devouring his stash of lemon heads was awesome, but not as gratifying as finally getting inside his room. As the projects I tackled got bigger, I had to be more resourceful. Notice the little level up moment. One day in history class, after reading about an early American inventions, I decided to learn how to use a spinning jenny. When my parents unsurprisingly refused to waste $500 on an 18th century spinning wheel, I got to work visiting DIY websites to construct my own by disassembling my bike and removing the inner tube from the wheel, gathering string and nails, and cutting scrap wood. For weeks, I brushed my 2 cats every day until I'd gathered enough fur. I washed and soaked it, carded it with paddle brushes to align the fibers, and then spun it into yarn, which I then used to crochet a clutch purse for my grandmother on Mother's Day. She still uses it to this day. Now, I want to pause for a second for all of you who are being like, OMG, Ethan, I didn't build a spinning jenny. I'm never going to get into college. It's just not true, y'all. We just read an essay about a guy who like runs around on the beach with his brothers and he's a pirate. Like, you don't need these kinds of details in order to write an essay that stands out. But it's kind of nice. In other words, if there is some uncommon weird stuff that you've done, it's not a bad idea to weave it in. In high school, my obsessive nature found a new outlet in art. Being a perfectionist, I often tore up my work in frustration at the slightest hint of imperfection. As a result, I was slowly falling behind in my art class, so I had to seek out alternate solutions to actualize the ideas I had in my head. Oftentimes, that meant using mixed media or experimenting with unconventional materials like newspaper or cardboard. Eventually, I went on to win several awards, by the way, showcased by my art in numerous galleries and magazines, and became president of National Art Honor Society. Taking 4 years of art hasn't just taught me to be creative. It's taught me that there are multiple solutions to a problem. After high school, I started to work on more difficult projects, and I channeled my creativity into a different form of art, programming. Now, this is what I call an uncommon connection. So we're talking about problem solving, right? And, you know, and here suddenly, she's been talking about creativity. Suddenly she's like, here's another form of art, programming. And we're like, Programming and art. And of course, you programmers are like, yeah, of course, Ethan, we know this. But other people might be like, wait, what? I'm currently working on an individual project at the insert cool place I'm working. I'm writing a program that can measure visual acuity and determine what prescription glasses someone would need. I ultimately plan to turn this into a smartphone app to be released to the general public. Super cool. But I'm mostly interested in, this is another cool example of how this student is building and problem solving. Here's the conclusion. The fact is, computer coding is in many ways similar to the talents and hobbies I enjoyed as a child. They all require finding creative ways to solve problems. While my motivation to solve these problems might have been a childlike sense of satisfaction in creating new things, I've developed a new and profound sense of purpose and desire to put my problem-solving skills to better our world. Now, you'll notice this student mentions her career at the end of her essay. The other student doesn't. It's up to you. You don't have to. Sometimes students ask that when they hear this. Okay, so what are the qualities this essay shows? Again, values. And notice how each paragraph is kind of theming it based on a different value. So the projects in the backyard show experimentation. They also show working with hands. Picking locks shows just how committed she was to getting to the lemon heads. And it also shows her sense of humor. That history class paragraph, building the spinning Jenny, shows resourcefulness and I'm able to adapt based on the materials she had. Art making shows her creativity. And oh, by the way, she's head of this organization. So that shows her leadership. And then programming shows her interest in engineering and her desire to help others, which she pings at the end of the essay here. As far as insights, these are those so what moments. You know, for example, when she says taking 4 years of art hasn't just taught me to be creative, it's taught me there are multiple solutions to a problem. So I go, okay, cool. That's a little reflection on what you just shared. So it gives me a way of thinking about it. It gives me like a little insight into your world. Vulnerability, again, this one isn't like super vulnerable in the conventional sense of like, here's a bad thing that happened to me and like some stuff I learned from it. But there is some vulnerability in like the extent to which she nerded out on these different things. And then in terms of craft is just all over the place. It's just the details that the student's using, specific and visual. Okay, I have more examples, but I don't think we have time today because I want to make sure I get to your questions soon. What did I say I was going to talk about? Oh, I did that. I think I think I want to go to questions pretty soon. Let's see. This essay seems like it's from a transfer alumni student. Yeah. Okay. So let's recap real quick. Let me actually stop sharing my screen so that I can just recap so you can see my face. All right. Oh, there's the other thing. Actually, okay, I do have one more thing I want to share with you. So the structure we've been talking about so far is what I call montage structure. And a montage basically involves choosing a theme or topic. And in this case, we've talked about two different potential themes or topics. We talked about maybe you choose an identity, i.e. a pirate, or something else, and you connect it to lots of different sides of you. Or maybe you choose a superpower, like building and problem solving, and you connect to many different sides of you. That's one particular style of essay. I call it a montage. And that's for students who don't have that big challenge that they've been through that changed their lives. Okay. So that's a totally great way to do it. And again, how do you do it? You brainstorm it. What are some different skills, some superpowers, some identities, and then brainstorm it based on the values. That's the short version. If you have a challenge that you've experienced, I call this narrative structure. And the basic structure for your essay is going to be a little bit different. So for students who've faced a big challenge or a series of challenges in their life, I would recommend what I call narrative structure, which goes, what was the challenge that you faced? And you'll probably want to describe that in the first third of the essay. And then importantly, what are the effects or impacts? So section 1, challenges and effects on me. Write this down. If you face challenges, write this down because this will be useful. So section 1, scene 1 of the movie, challenges and effects on me. First third of the essay. Scene 2, what I did about it. So how did you work to overcome those challenges and the ways that they impacted you? I know that may be obvious, but I have an exercise that I'm not going to do today, but I'm going to share with you that you can work through with this. And then part 3 is going to be, okay, based on the things that you did to work through the challenges, what did you learn? So chapter 1, scene 1, challenges and effects. Scene 2, what I did about them. And then scene 3, chapter 3, what I learned through the experience. Now, if you're like, cool, Ethan, that sounds kind of general though. Like, how do I do that? There's an exercise that I have. It's called the feelings and needs exercise. You can Google it. I'll put it in the chat right now. I'm actually just Googling myself. You guys do that too, right? And if you spend, and it takes about 15, 20 minutes. I would spend 25 minutes on it. Take your time with it. But if you spend about 20, 25 minutes working through that exercise, it's a little YouTube video that you can kind of work through. You should be able to have a pretty solid idea of whether or not your challenge is going to be one that you feel like you could turn into a personal statement. And it's hard to explain to you without you doing it, like how that works. But essentially, there's a series of 6 questions that you work through. And it's, grab a sheet of paper and a pen, find a place that's quiet, and you can kind of map this out. If you've got somebody nearby that you can kind of get some feedback from, you can actually read them your feelings and needs exercise and ask them, what are you hearing in this? And have them tell you back your story. Okay. It's a really, really nice one. And then you can go back to that structure that I mentioned, challenges and effects, what I did about it, and what I learned. That's a question that came out of nowhere, Ligia, but I kind of want to answer it. This is not really the workshop. I really have this question. How old are you? How old do you think I am, Ligia? You can feel free to let me know. That's such a random question, but I really like it. You can let me know how old you think I am. Okay, so just to recap, brainstorming exercises. We've talked about superpowers and identities. Okay, I have others, but just sake of time. And then we've also got this feelings and needs exercise. That's going to help you generate your content. In terms of then how do you develop your structure, the feelings and needs exercise, if you've got a challenge, is going to help you develop your structure. In terms of the structure for a montage essay, I'm talking about what are the different values that you developed, and you could kind of theme your paragraph based on your values, like those essays that I just read did. Okay? That's going to get you started. And then along the way, the 4 qualities I mentioned, and you can write these down, are number 1, we're looking for values. I mentioned it already a bunch of times, core values. I'm looking for insight, like can you answer the so what question in a way that maybe surprises us? Number 3, is there some kind of vulnerability? If you're writing about challenges, vulnerability is going to be built in. How could you bring a little bit more vulnerability to to your personal statement if you're writing about something that's kind of, not overcoming a challenge? It's a little bit trickier. How do you bring in those personal details? I was working with a student earlier today, and that was the big challenge, is like, how do I bring in those things? And one of the things that you can ask yourself if you're writing a montage essay and you're trying to bring in vulnerability is ask yourself, what is this thing, whatever it is, like whatever it is that you do, like volunteering or this internship or, this sport, like what is it really about for you? Like, why do you really do it? Not just like, oh, because whatever, I signed up, but it's like, here's another deeper question. What need does it fulfill for you? I'm pausing because that's super deep. And if you need a list of needs, go back to the feelings and needs exercise that I just clicked. And that could potentially take your essay to another level. Let me show you what I mean by that, because I think that might go over some folks' heads, but I'm not saying that you guys, that's going over your heads, like you're not able to think about this, but I just want to do this for a second with you. So here, let me give an example. So check this out. So here's this feelings and needs exercise, which we're not doing right now. I just want you to look at this list of needs. Okay. So when you look at this list of needs, I want you to think about an extracurricular activity that you do. So just pick a random extracurricular activity in your mind. And then I want you to ask yourself, what need does this extracurricular activity fulfill for me? Okay. I'm 40 years old, by the way. So here's the exercise. See if you can come up with it. See if you can throw it in the chat box. What is an extracurricular activity you do? And what is the deeper value or the deeper need it fulfills? So for example, I'll just give an example. I did theater. That was one of my big extracurricular activities in high school. Can you tell? What needs did it fulfill for me? Oh my gosh, so many. Creativity, huge. It met my need for community and connection. Later on in life, it met my need for healing and for hope in the world. I think I'm less starry-eyed about it. It met my need for discovery. Oh, when I worked for a theater company later on after college, it met my need for contribution. Ooh, baseball connects to honesty. Hip hop and ballet helps you connect to authenticity. I love that. What is the need? The need for authenticity. Yeah, the need for collaboration. Okay, great. Gabriel. So teaching fulfills your need for collaboration. I love that. I love these needs, this needs list. This is, by the way, from Nonviolent Communication. It's like looking at the needs gives us a deeper understanding of why you do the things you do. Right? These are great. Interesting. Getting involved in MUN helps your need for confidence. Cool. This is great. Book club, the need to feel seen and heard. I love it, Falon. That's awesome. So this is the other part thing about this feelings and needs resource is that it can give you a deeper sense of what is this thing really about for me? Yeah. And I love some of these uncommon things. So like Lorenzo, you're saying cross country meets your need for growth. Like that's awesome. That's not going to be in every cross country essay. People are going to be writing about how cross country is all about discipline and hard work and perseverance. All maybe true things, but I want to know about how cross country meets your need for growth. That's super awesome. Yeah. Love it. Yeah, these are awesome. I'm just getting caught up in some of these. Okay, cool. Real quick, let me give a quick recap of this course that I have coming up in 10 days. We'll throw this in the chat, but I'm doing a course, starts in 10 days. It's going to feel kind of like this. It's on writing a personal statement. And basically, the thing that I shared with y'all, this thing is like the curriculum for the course. So we're going to talk about brainstorming on the first week, how to outline and write your essay, how to revise it, and how to refine it. We're going to talk about montages, which is what we started talking about. We're going to talk about the narrative essays, challenges-based essays. Each week, I'll do a lesson, and then I'll basically look at your essay draft, folks' essay drafts. Not everybody's. I can't look at everybody's in every session, and then I'll give feedback. And that's kind of the gist of it. And it's hopefully kind of fun. Oh, and by the way, it's pay what you can, which means you can pay whatever you want. So that's it. That's the quick PSA for the course. We'll put the link in. Oh, wait, sorry. There's one more part to it. So we're leading this on Saturdays, and part 1 is going to be in the morning, which is, well, afternoon for some of you, evening for some of y'all. And then part 2, we're going to do it in the basically evening my time, which is writing your college application and supplemental essays. So that's working on like your why us essay and your activities list and all those other supplemental essays you need to write. We'll basically cover, you'll have all the resources you need to like go through that entire process. So we'll email you more info about this, but that's happening starting in not this Saturday, but like the following Saturday. And again, it's pay what you can. So we'll send more info out about that. All right, let's get to questions. I'm going to unshare my screen and then I'm going to go through, because if I share my screen, people will be like, why is he skipping my question? And I just want to be able to jump around in the questions. Okay. Are the courses paid? Yes, they're pay what you can, Sky, which means people can pay anything they want. There's like a suggested cost, but one of my core values is making sure that things are really accessible, so people can pay whatever they want. So anyway. Oh, and for you who are saying, Temison, you're saying you can't get into the CYOA tool. That's because you have to get access through the course. So that's why it's gated. And how you get access is by signing up for the course. Okay. Let's see. Raj asks, would it be better to focus on one specific time in your life, or is it fine to include multiple experiences throughout your life in the personal statement? And I've kind of already answered this, but I want to point out the answer to your question, Raj. It's totally fine if you want to focus on one particular aspect of your life or one particular like phase of your life. But I find that it's sometimes really hard to come up with insights that are like mind-blowing just based on that, that one experience. So like, let's say, for example, you want to write about a particular trip that you took. I find that it's sometimes really hard to pack in all these different sides of you to like one particular trip, right? So it's like, or like some people write about, common essay topics are like a move, like they move from one place to another, or they change to a new school. And those topics are sometimes hard to pack in lots of different sides of you. So that's why I advocate for this. If you don't have a challenge that was like really impactful and really changed your life, that I think it's really great to consider that montage structure. And the montage, again, takes these different sides of you, these different experiences, and finds some kind of common overarching theme or thread, and then talks about how that theme or thread basically weaves through your life in these cool ways. So totally fine to talk about different experiences in your life. And in fact, in some cases, maybe easier. The other reason I think a montage essay is really cool is that if paragraph, like say you're writing a 6-paragraph essay, like let's say it's the pirate essay, and like paragraph 3 of your pirate essay is just like, meh, it doesn't work out. Hey, paragraphs 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 can like help carry the weight. The problem about writing like a challenge or like an essay that's about one particular experience is like if the challenge isn't that dynamic, like let's say you're writing about a C that you got in physics, and the reader's like, well, I don't really care, about this thing. I'm not saying that no, I don't think the reader cares too much about like a bad grade you got. So I wouldn't recommend writing about it. But if the reader isn't like invested in the challenge or the question of your essay, then like the whole thing might not work. But if you use this sort of modular approach, sometimes if certain parts don't work, other parts can work well and still reveal lots of skills, qualities, values, and interests. And I think that's really the key for a personal statement. So if I had to like summarize it in like a sentence, what is the personal statement about? It's like, how do I demonstrate skills, qualities, values, and interests that you're going to bring with you to a college campus? All right. Ooh, good question. Is there a good way to write an essay about a challenge you're still dealing with, or would something like that not be an ideal topic? I think the question, like the second part, it's probably not an ideal topic. But having said that, I don't think it's a bad idea to like do the feelings and needs exercise and actually brainstorm just to have that experience. Cause it's kind of like people jokingly call it, but maybe not jokingly, the 20-minute therapy exercise, where you'll kind of go through this on your own, in your own mind. You're like doing therapy with yourself on this writing exercise and trying to figure out, is this something that could be potentially meaningful to me in my life? And then, yes, by the way, it could potentially lead to a topic, but really I'd be interested in you doing that just to like get to know yourself a little bit better. So #growth, and if personal growth and development is important to you, I think you'll dig that exercise. It's also got that feelings and needs thing is like a really cool tool just in life for thinking about why you feel the way you feel. Do you recommend talking about hard experiences one has gone through, or is that too sappy? It depends. So again, I would say do the feelings and needs exercise and explore that and see how that goes for you. But I would say that I wouldn't worry about it being too sappy. Like sometimes students worry about challenges essays feeling like, they call them, what do you call it? Like sob stories, right? I was like trying to figure out, what is that phrase? Yeah, sob stories. The thing that makes it feel like a sob story is if you spent your whole essay talking about the challenge and like all the horrible stuff you went through. And then at the end, you're like, but I'm trying, doing my best, smiley like selfie. I'm not literally, but like the problem with that is that the students spend so much time on the challenges. Colleges are interested in your challenges in so much as they're the setup for what you did about it and what you learned. So I like to use the word metabolize. How did you metabolize that experience? That's my question. Okay. What else? Is it okay to use humor in college essays? Of course. I mean, that pirate essay was like brimming with humor. So yes. It's better to choose niche identities, or are broad identities like student and daughter okay as well? Well, good question. So I think a boring essay chooses a common topic, makes common connections, and uses common language. And so if your essay is like, I am a student, and that's a common connection, right? Yes, we know that you're a student because you're applying to college, and you have common language in there and common connections, meaning like you talk about working hard in school and you talk about like doing your best in all things, then yeah, that might be kind of a boring essay. So one or more of those elements needs to be uncommon in order for you to stand out. So one of the things that a student said earlier, an identity was like bucket getter. And like bucket getter is kind of an uncommon identity. Like you said, kind of a niche identity. And so that already is going to help you stand out a little bit more. And so if you're thinking about these, like pirate, like how many pirate essays they're going to be? Probably not a ton. So already that's going to kind of be like, okay, grab our attention. But you can't stop there. You want to make some uncommon connections. So for example, with pirate, there would be some like obvious ones, but connecting pirates to like knowledge, like that's a little bit uncommon. And then using uncommon language. So if you look at that essay, for example, or if you look at any great personal statement, there are probably some phrases in there that are going to be unique to that student that you wouldn't find in another person's essay. So you can use that framework, common topic, common connections, common language, Okay. That's going to be kind of like maybe a blend-in essay. Whereas uncommon topic, uncommon connections, or uncommon language is maybe going to help you stand out more. Now, you don't have to have an uncommon, you don't have to have all these like incredibly, unique, sorry, that's improper grammar. You don't have to have these incredibly uncommon identities in order to stand out. Right. I mean, and also the connection between pirate and adventure, like, come on, that's sitting right there for you. So not every single connection needs to be like mind blowing, but there's some specific examples in there that help that essay stand out. So one of the ways to stand out is like, what are the specific examples you use? And are those connections to your values? Maybe a bit surprising. Is it really important to have bigger vocabulary in your essay? No. I mean, we just read some essays that are pretty awesome and didn't have huge, big words. So how vulnerable is appropriate in a personal essay? Great question. I think this is my joke, but like on the scale of vulnerability, we've got like 1 level vulnerable is like, I like basketball. And level 10 is like biggest, deepest, darkest secret I've ever shared, which I'm not going to share. I don't actually know what that is for me, but that would be like level 10 vulnerable. Like you probably don't want to go level 10. You probably want to find this like middle range that's like maybe like above 4, that's like in the 5 to like 7 range. And this is totally non-scientific, but here's what I would say. Go read some personal statements. I've got a bunch on my website, and read through them and go do a vulnerability rating and go, where is this 1 to 10? And do I want to be more vulnerable or less vulnerable than that? Do you 100% need vulnerability to get into a great college? No. Okay. This is just a thing that when I see essays that I love, I'm like, why do I love this essay? And part of it is that I feel like, here, let me explain to you this way. I want colleges not just to like you. I want college readers to feel that they are like you. And I think that's what vulnerability can do. I think that's what vulnerability can do. Let me give you a quick example. I'm going to share something vulnerable about myself. I have no idea how this is going to go. You can let me know in the chat. I'm actually not going to look at the chat because I feel a little too nervous to like read the chat. Okay. I don't have the snack here anymore. Oh, they're right up there. I was eating pistachios in this room with 2 of my friends last week. This is a true story. And I was sitting there, and we were eating these pistachios, and they were having a conversation, and I was eating them, and I was like, these are so good. I really want my friends to try these. And I put the pistachios in the middle, and I started to tell them, hey, I want you all to try these. And then I paused, and I was like, what's that about? Why is it that every time I like something, I want somebody to try it? Like, what's going on there? What? And this is, by the way, if you really knew Ethan, anytime he loves something, I'm speaking about myself in the third person, I know. If I love a movie, if I love a TV show, a cool water bottle that I got, I want to share. You should totally try this. This is like a meme. If you're my friend listening to this, you're laughing at me right now because you're like, my dad does this too. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, why do I want to encourage people to like, why do I want to encourage my friends to like, why can't I just enjoy my pistachios? What's that impulse? And then I paused for a second and I got real quiet with myself and I was like, maybe I'm lonely. And they were like, my friends heard me, they're like, what? And I was like, yeah, like maybe that's why I want to share things all the time. Like maybe there's some part of me that's just like feeling kind of alone in my enjoyment of this thing. And I really just want to like share it with somebody and like connect with them. Like maybe the reason I want to share my snacks is because I'm lonely. And my friend Mitch, who was sitting there, was like, I mean, first it resonated with him, I think, in his life, but he's like, yeah, that resonates. Now, as I share that with you, how does that feel to hear Ethan be vulnerable? Does it make you feel like, ooh, loser? Maybe. And I'm not going to check the chat in case anybody's saying that. Who's this lonely dude just putting himself out there? Or is there any part of you, is anyone out there going like, oh, yeah, sometimes I feel lonely. Or, yeah, I'm kind of a pusher too. Maybe I kind of resonate with this. What I think vulnerability can do, and I don't think it always does this, but what I think vulnerability can do is share parts of ourselves that are connected to the quiet parts that we don't always reveal. And when we put those parts forward, people can see, oh, wow, Yeah, I really connect with this person because I know what it's like to feel that way. Just to clarify, I'm not saying, again, that you have to be vulnerable and reveal your deepest, darkest secrets. You don't need to start your essay with the words, I'm lonely all the time. No, that's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm saying is that there are these, if you can find these moments, these little tiny glimpses of, hey, here's a thing that I wouldn't necessarily reveal with everybody, but here's something that gives you a little insight into who I am and the way that I think. Sometimes that vulnerability can magnetize to make a reader feel like, I see myself in this person. And there are so many ways to do this. I can't unpack for you all the ways that we can do this, but look at great personal statements. You'll see some of the ones on my site, whether they're talking about challenges or not. And there's sometimes an element, a quality of vulnerability, of something that feels personal. And if you've already written an essay draft and you're like, man, I feel like my essay is not personal enough, not vulnerable, this thing that Ethan's talking about, I'm not saying go pack it full of like just confessions. Okay. This is, again, not what I'm saying to do. But one of the ways, a simple way that you can bring vulnerability into your personal statement is to ask yourself, okay, I'm talking about this thing, but it feels like a little bit surface level. Like, yeah, okay, I want to flex on my debate skills. But like, what's debate really about for you? Like, what's that really about? What's that need that's fulfilling for you? Even if you mention it in a sentence, for me, debate is less about arguing great topics and learning about things all around the world, which is cool. For me, debate's really about this other thing. A little vulnerability. This is like a little, I mean, I'm opening my heart a little bit here. I'm kind of morbidly curious what's happening in the chat. Oh, I want to give him a hug. Thanks, hey bud. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. You want to give me a hug. See, that's the thing, y'all. Vulnerability can do that. I'm not saying that everybody, that if you're like super vulnerable, everybody's going to give you a hug, but maybe sometimes, right? All right, I'm going to stop reading the chat because I'm too scared. We got about 5 minutes. What else? Let's look. Does it matter if I write my essay in the first person or third person? Go first person, Arjun. Personal. I want to get into who is the real Arjun. Say first person if you can. These are more like stories than essays. Yes, Sandra. Is it a good idea to write about what I learned from my mistakes in life? That could be a way to go, Farhan. Yeah. What essay prompt do these go with? Great question, Jonas. I'm not a big fan of like looking at Common App prompts and writing my essay based on that. I want you to basically write your story based on, I have different exercises, 2 of the ones that I've already shared with you, and figuring out what is the story that you want to tell, and then pick whichever prompt that it connects with. The Common App has this topic of your choice. More than half of students pick topic of your choice. Is totally fine to pick that. So find your story. Again, how do you figure out what are the skills, qualities, values, and interests that you want to share? And then what's the best way to tell that story? And then pick whichever prompt, pops up. It doesn't matter. Now, having said that, for the supplemental essays, which is the essays that you're going to write for other schools, which we're going to talk about on Thursday, the prompt really matters for those. If they ask, why do you want to attend this college? You can't be like, yeah, I know that you were asking me that, but can I tell you about road trip snacks? Because I'm really just want to talk about road trip snacks. Like you got to answer the prompt with those, okay? But with the topic of your choice, with the comment, it doesn't matter as much, okay? Yeah. I'm looking for a couple more. Yeah, I got a good one. Here's one from Anushia. Okay, do you have tips for refining drafts? Okay, so here's a tip for refining your essay draft. If you're mid-essay process and you're like, I got to figure out how to write this, how to revise this, here's what I would do. Put your essay away. Take your phone, if you've got a phone, and if you've got a record feature on your phone, hit record and tell your essay into your phone. So, okay, my essay is about how I build and problem solve. And the first example, in the first paragraph, I talk about how as a kid, I like set the such and such on fire, set the yard on fire, just like Tom Hanks in Castaway. Ooh, Tom Hanks in Castaway. I should include that detail. You see what I did? What happened is like, you're going to come up with other ideas that you didn't put in your actual essay. Okay. And then the second paragraph is about how I was building and picking locks. And I tried to work super hard to get into my brother's room and got in, stole his lemon heads. And then my third paragraph is about, and you just tell your essay like this, okay? And go paragraph, 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 and just talk through your paragraphs. And then hit stop, go to a blank Google Doc, play your thing back to you and just basically outline your essay for yourself. Now, this is a really good trimming technique too, for those of you who are like figuring out, how do I get to the essence, the heart of my essay? Record yourself talking and then type the stuff that you're going to say, because what you're doing is you're actually tricking yourself into writing a new draft, but you're not staying attached to the stuff that you've written, because the thing that takes forever is when you get super attached to like the ways that you wrote it. But chances are you need a new flow. And if you can talk it out loud to somebody or just talk it to yourself, right? Like into a recording thing, play yourself back and then create a new outline. I call this creating outline 2.0. What's going to happen is you're going to have a new flow and you're going to learn some stuff. You're going to be like, ooh, there's this detail, the Tom Hanks detail that I want to work in. And then also what I realized is that I made this connection between paragraph, like ideas 3 and 4 that I didn't even know was there. I could bring that in. And then what I would say is I would love for you to write a draft from scratch. Now, you're not actually writing from scratch, because you're actually going to be writing based on all the work that you've done. All the work and writing you've done has prepared you for this moment to do this new flow. And the new flow is going to come from the recording you make and then the new outline. Once you've got that, take a deep breath, get some water, and then go, okay, now I'm going to write my new draft. And then set a timer for an hour and write your new draft. I'm not going to say guarantee you, but I can bet you $1 that new draft is going to be better, because you'll have told it again. Let me give you a quick analogy and then we'll close with this. There was this story. I don't know if it's like a real thing that happened or not, but there were, they had 2 groups of people and they asked them, okay, with this group of people, we want you to make one perfectly formed clay jar. Okay. Or a clay bowl, let's say. Sorry, I should work on my specifics for this story. So imagine a group of people, they have 100 hours to make a perfectly sculpted clay bowl. The other group, we want you to make 100 clay bowls. And you've got 100 hours to do it. So 100 hours to make one clay bowl perfectly sculpted, or 100 clay bowls in 100 hours. Which do you think was a better clay bowl? The one or the 100th one? You get the idea, right? That after you spend some time iterating, that you're not going to write 100 drafts, don't worry. But that 4th iteration, that 8th iteration, there's going to be some refining that's happened. And I want to get you to the next draft by having you detach from the ways that you've been making sense of stuff, the way that it's been manifesting itself on the page. Get out of your head a little bit, get into your body, go for a walk and do this. Talk it in, and then, again, type it, and then from scratch, write your new draft. Okay. 100. That's good. I think that's good, right? That's like kid speak for yes, right? All right. Oh, by the way, last thing, and I forgot to mention this earlier, but if you identify as a low income student, we've got something called the Match Sliders program. And the Match Sliders program, we will pair you with counselors who are standing by. There we go. See, we just did it. You've got a 3.0 GPA, you're from a low-income family, check out Match Sliders, free one-on-one support for your college listen essay work. Listen, y'all, we have a group of counselors, like hundreds of counselors who are just sitting, waiting to take your calls. No, they're just waiting to help you, okay? You have to be low income, but if that is you, sign up, apply right now, because they're going to fill up. But right now, they're like twiddling their thumbs, waiting to help you. So this is like a real offer. You apply and you're going to get paired with them. You got a little bit of pre-work to do, but you'll get paired really soon. Love to get a flood of applications for that this week. All right. Thursday, we're going to talk about, let me tell you what we're going to talk about, and then I'm going to let y'all go because I'm over time. Thursday, get ready. We're going to talk about how to save 20 plus hours on your supplemental essays or writing a super essay and what the heck a super essay even is. Talking to you about a why us essay. That's that why this college essay, which I just sent a video out today on my YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, hit that, smash that like button. Tips. I'm going to talk about a bunch of different supplemental essays. I'm going to talk about your activities list, that additional information section on the Common App. Yeah, all those things. We'll follow it up in the email. What are y'all saying in the chat now? I'm super curious. You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm sorry, we can't do it for the international students. It's complicated. We just don't have enough international counselors. And Stevie, will you send the link out to the events page so that folks can sign up for Thursday's webinar? That would be super awesome. All right. Thanks, y'all. I appreciate you. I appreciate y'all being here, and thanks for letting me. This really meets my need for contribution and for connection. I love how awesome you've been on this chat. It's just been really, really awesome. So thank you. I do feel seen. Actually, I was gonna kind of be like talking down, but I do feel seen, and I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks, my guy. All right, awesome. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your night, and I'll see y'all on Thursday. All right, bye. I have to wait 15 seconds because if I cut it off early, then it cuts me off. So I'm just gonna like sit here and look at y'all for 15 seconds. Ooh, somebody got their topic for their essay. Y'all crack me up. Thank you, Stevie. I love that y'all are showing Stevie so much love in the chat. All right. Peace, y'all. See you Thursday. Bye.